Oh, okay. I think I'm on now. Give me a sound check, buddy. Sound check. And let me pull up something else here, which might infer that we know what we're doing, like professional. There we go. Now we're rocking. Give me a sound check. How's the sound? Oh yeah, oh yeah. Give me a sound check. Can you hear my call? Does it sound good? There's your link if you want to come in. This is going to be a little bit of an unusual show. Yeah. I'm waiting for a sound check if you're listening. If you don't give me a sound check, I won't know how to proceed. I'll go blindly. P. Mars, Bruce hates you. Well, sir, ain't that something? He doesn't cotton to my ideas either. Oh, Bruce hates you, but it's a joke. Okay. Just kidding. How's the sound, Bruce? Can you hear me at all? I mean, P. Mars. I'm sorry to insult you. I didn't mean that. How's the sound, P. Mars? Does it sound okay? Yes, no, yes, no. Can you hear me? How's the sound? Oh, yes, how's the sound? Seems to be okay, I guess. How about this for a sound? Ready? We got sound! All right. We got sound. Okay, what I wanted to do with this little episode is argue for causality instead of randomness. Causality versus randomness. Okay? So we're looking to see God, right? So in the beginning, God, and that's a fine place to start. In the beginning, God. And so we weave our way through the scriptures, and we find actually the story of God. And we want to know the testimony of God. Got two side chatters here asking for my testimony. I don't have one, but I do have the testimony of God. What is the testimony of God? Well, this is actually a phrase mentioned by Paul, and we want to know the testimony of God. So what is the testimony of God? So, turns out that God created. In the beginning, God created. And then we weave our way through the scriptures and we find several things. We find that it is a story of God and his Christ. And the centerpiece of the whole story is the cross. What was accomplished on the cross? There, God displayed the greatest of evils and the greatest of goods, because Christ became sin for our sake. And God approved of the story. right there on the cross. And we know that God approved of the story of Christ on the cross because 3 days later he raised Christ from the dead, showing that God is in total control of the story itself. For the longest time, we were all afraid of death because death is the ration of sin, remember? King James says wages of sin. The concordant word there is ration, because death is not really wages, because with wages you earn something. The proper word in that verse that says the wages of sin is death is actually ration. Death is the ration of sin, because with the idea behind ration as opposed to wages, with wages you earn it. With rations, you don't necessarily earn it. It's just given to you, whether you like it or not. It's just rationed out, you see. It's a very important concept to understand regarding the purpose and plan and development and the testimony of God. You know, the purpose of God, the plan of God, and the testimony of God. So death is the ration of sin. It comes to us all, whether we deserve it or not. And I think we can all agree that the little baby Janie, she's only 3 days old and she dies. Well, she didn't get involved in sin, but death was her ration as well. She inherited the mortal condition from her ancestor, Adam. She was born dying. She was born mortal. So, God sends his son, his boy, to the cross as a great testimony to understanding where we are at this moment in time in the great purpose of the eons. God sends his boy to the cross, and we now can see why he's the Aeonian God, very much concerned with the troubles that we go through. And God approves of Christ's work, Christ's accomplishments, Christ's achievements on the cross. And we get the certificate of his approval by Christ's resurrection from the dead. This is actually good news for all humanity, because all are in Adam and all are in Christ. Christ is the first. Christ is the last Adam. It's a great metaphorical teaching from 1 Corinthians 15. Christ is the last Adam. And as the last Adam, he undoes all the trouble that the first Adam caused. And in that same passage, 1 Corinthians 15, it also says that Christ is the second man. Okay? So we get the testimony of God in the cross of Christ. So the purpose of this little episode is just to think out loud about causality itself. Because the free will geniuses out there basically argue that there is no causality. That the human free will can be and is independent of God. But if you're going to be at least approaching smarts and approaching intelligence, you have to start scratching your head sooner or later and seeing what is going on in this world. And it turns out that there are a lot of causal reasons for the way people behave and think the way they do. And so my question is, and some of the folks on this channel, their question is, where do we stop with this causality thing? What causes you to behave the way you do? You didn't choose, you didn't freely choose your parents, your nationality, the century in which you were born. You didn't choose your height. Most of us, might overeat, but why? Why do we overeat? There are causal reasons for everything. We might think in a certain way. There are causal reasons for why we think the way we do, and it takes a good deal of effort to think a new thought. So who is behind it all? The testimony of God is that God is the one behind it all. Ephesians 1:11 says God is operating all things according to the counsel of his will. Regarding the human will, Romans 9:18, or is it verse 16, says, it is not of him that willeth, nor him that raceth, but of him, of God, who has mercy. Romans 11:32 says that God has locked up altogether in stubbornness. Isaiah 45:7 says God is the creator of both good and evil. Exactly. So, who is behind everything? What are the causal reasons behind everything? And if you say there are no causal reasons, just can't go with that. I don't have a free will to go with that. I've been thinking and thinking and thinking, and my thinking, unlike Curly from the Three Stooges, he says, I'm trying to think and nothing happens. Well, a few things happened when I tried to think. So, so I've been, some of the limitarians have busted my chops. The people from the eternity cult have busted my chops, and they tried to get me by saying, hey, Ace, was God behind the shootings in Texas? Well, I thought I'd play for you, not really my answer, but there's a fellow who made a video recently, and this guy has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with our theology, nothing to do with, the greater concepts that we kind of deal with on this channel about God's great purpose and plan and his timing. He's not dealing with that at all. He's just looking at human nature and our current culture and society. And he argues that there are reasons for that shooting, or rather, he's going to argue that there are reasons why the so-called heroes, the cops, the first responders did not respond for 90 minutes? I didn't follow the story. They did not respond. They were sitting on their ass. Anyway, so if you want to come in and join me to think out loud, I'll play the skit, the episode of this other fellow's channel, and I'll put it on pause whenever I want to interject something. But in the big scheme of things, who is responsible for everything, good and evil? It has to be God. God was right there with Adam in the garden. But does Does God stop Adam from eating of the forbidden fruit? No, he's bringing Adam along in the story. In the next chapter, after Adam ate of the forbidden fruit, God said, he was in the Garden of Eden, and God said, Adam, where are you? Well, God knows everything, right? And God is saying, Adam, where are you? As if God didn't know. Can you see? There's a story that God is laying out for us all. Of course, God knew where Adam was. God is just bringing Adam along, point by point, step by step, to where Adam and his whole race will have to eventually acknowledge, that their life is in him. He is the author of all, the creator of all. He gives life and breath and all to all. All right, so enough philosophizing. Let's see if we can bring up the screen and hit play. And feel free to come on in. And here we go.
Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. My name is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Tonight I'm going to talk about the New York Post, the media, after what happened about 10 days ago in Uvalde, Texas, where the police kind of sat around and did nothing when a very young man that was armed went into a school. And, you know, all of a sudden the New York Post asks, where are the men of courage? Seems all of a sudden lots of people want to know where the men of courage are. And I think what they fail to realize is that they have been pushing those men out of society and telling them that being strong, being independent, being a critical thinker, being brave, being independent, just out there doing his own thing, well, that's toxic, you see. Before we jump right into it, let me mention tomorrow on 21 Studios, I will be doing an interview with the Red Man Group. I will be posting it either here on YouTube or over on Locals for those of you that follow me over there, or you can obviously watch it at 21 Studios. I think they set it for around 9 o'clock in the morning or something like that. I don't know, because I'm in a weird mountain time. They may have posted it for Eastern Standard, but go check that out over on 21 Studios. They already have the page up. I'll put the link in down below if you want to see it on their page. Otherwise, I'll probably re-upload it here. So Miranda Devine from the New York Post writes, where are the men of courage? Well, as my title says, they're gone thanks to toxic masculinity. And I think this is an important topic, again, because they keep telling men, hey, you have to be feminine, and you have to be in touch with your emotions, and you have to be able to cry, and if you're brave and independent, then you're toxic. And what you end up getting a bunch of weak men, and then when something bad happens and the men don't come to save the women or the children, they kind of act shocked, like, well, we don't understand. Well, this is what you wanted from men, and once again, men are giving you what you asked for, and once again, of course, they don't know what they want, so they're changing their mind. She says, so we vilify action men, brand chivalry and valor as toxic masculinity, stamp on the manly virtues that made civilization possible. Then we're shocked when armed cops stand around outside a classroom while children are ended, or when strap hangers watch passively as a woman isn't assaulted on the subway. What's the answer? Now, if you don't know that video, I actually have the link here. Let me open it in a new tab. And this is, so on the subway, I think in New York City, harm to people has jumped way up. And in a recent one, there was a woman that was attacked by kind of a deranged person, and guys just stood around watching. And when and look, it's naturally in my DNA to protect innocent, young, helpless children, women, animals. There's just something in men that we are designed to do that. But then when men do something and then they're either given a charge or they're taken into account for doing something, or it wasn't wanted, or they're mansplaining or whatever, guys just say, all right, we're going to stay out of it then, and you get what you asked for. And now, again, you're getting what you asked for. She says, Democrats cynically demonize Republicans over weapons as a motivator for their base. Republicans fall back on hardening security to prevent more school incidents. But Little Rob Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, where an 18-year-old dude went in and ended 19 small children and 2 of their teachers last week, was already pretty hardened. Now let me pause it here. It was already pretty hardened, but a teacher propped open a door that was supposed to be left shut and locked. That's a back entrance. Whoever the school guy that was supposed to be guarding it or something or other, and they may say this, but he didn't do anything, or he wasn't there, or he wasn't paying attention. That's on the fault of a guy not doing his job. And then the police showing up and not knowing what to do and being an absolute cluster F, again, goes to weak men that are not brave. And what ended up happening, for those of you that don't know, is an off-duty Border Patrol guy who was getting his haircut at a barber, borrowed his friend's 12-gauge pump, jumped in a truck, went there, and went into the school to save his own kids, and ended up ending the guy. They say Uvalde considered consolidated independent school district had its own 6-strong police force, armed guards, perimeter fencing, and a locked classroom policy according to a security plan posted on its website. Still, the guy that ended all these lives found an unlocked door, and the only thing that might have saved those kids were men of courage and action rushing into the line of fire. Yes, men. Instead, they had multiple police officers milling about outside the classrooms, reportedly for over an hour. And basically, the cops were scared to go in. They didn't want to get hit. Again, weak men. But she says it's missing the point. Armchair Twitter warriors armed with minimal real data ranting about cowardice and drumming up the threats for the police are missing the point. You can't bully people to be brave or nag them into valor. They either are or aren't that way. They either are the first responders of 9/11, running toward danger to save strangers, men who strapped on oxygen tanks to climb 110 flights of stairs to their own endings, or they are not. We used to venerate men like the entire shift of 15 firefighters from Midtown Engines 54 Ladder 4 Battalion 9, whose fading photographs still face the headless crowds, or heedless crowds, on 8th Avenue. Men with families to live for who rushed to their endings on 9/11 because they believed in a system of honor and duty in which they were destined to be the guardians of the community. Men like Battalion Chief Edward Garrity, 45, firefighters Alan Feinberg, 48, Jose Guadalupe, 37, Leonard Ragaglia, 36, Michael Lynch, 30, Christopher Santora, 23, and fellow heroes. Now their inheritors show up at emergency, and the public throws bottles of urine at them. Social justice warriors and the eager media accomplices smear cops as everyday racists and life enders. ACAB, all cops are bastardos, is their favorite hashtag. Let me just pause here for a second and say this. Again, when there's going to be good cops and bad cops, and good firefighters and bad firefighters, and good people and bad people. But usually the good people, the smart people, the strong people, the people with standards and morals and values, the most intelligent, and the ones that know that they are good at their jobs, they will put up with the least crap. They will quit. They will just walk out if they're given too much of a hard time. The ones that'll stay know that they're probably the lower in the pecking order. They're not as good at their jobs. Maybe they're newer, they're less experienced, and they're going to stay because they know they just can't go get another job easily, as an example. And so what happens is when you get cops that are in some of these areas, whether it's a big city or whether it's in one of the Democrat cities where they say, well, we're going to defund you and you guys are the bad guys, those cops are going to leave for somewhere else, or they're going to quit, or they're going to change jobs, and they'll become just your everyday normal citizen. And the only ones left are the ones that are just there to collect a paycheck. They feel no duty or honor or sense of honor or community or people's safeties. You get the dregs left over. The same thing is happening in the dating scene. And I actually have a video that I'll pop over to here in a second. I have a video here that I'll pop over to in a second if it's going to load. And it's from...
Up to a girl.
Let me pause it here. It's from a site or a YouTuber here named Modern Women Archives. And these are women saying, where are the men? Well, you chased them out. You're chasing them out of society. She says, we pathologize manly virtues and bow to the tyranny of identity politics that seeks power by overthrowing a make-believe patriarchy. We raise boys in a soup of reproach and negativity that tells them that their intrinsic nature is diseased. Traditional masculinity is psychologically harmful, the American Psychological Association declared in 2019. These were the masculine attributes it listed as diseased: stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, aggression, anti-femininity, achievement, eschewal of the appearance of weakness, and adventure, risk, and violence. So, if you like risk, if you're adventurous, if you're stubborn, if you're feminine, if you're dominant, if you have some aggression, and aggression can be bad, but it can also be good. You need that aggression to have a guy that'll charge into battle to protect his country or his loved ones. competitiveness. I mean, that in and of itself is I would say a good thing. We're in a society now where no one is competitive at all. Everybody just wants to get along, and you end up usually promoting the worst of the worst to get them out of the way, and they end up being in charge. I know this for a fact because I was in the military. They say the only acceptable man now is a man who wants to be a woman. We celebrate pregnant men and chest-feeding men. You see, in the drive to destroy masculinity, we've had to erase women as well. She says we're in a masculinity crisis. We ignore the crisis that sees men end themselves at ever-increasing rates or succumb to illicit substance abuse and spicy video addiction, while savvy young women graduate from college in disproportionate numbers. And I don't even need to click on that link. It's about 60-40, women ahead of men. So about 60% of the graduates of college are now women and 40% of men. Trained from childhood to be entitled and unrealistic about relationships, their fertility, and the sacrifices and joys of motherhood, many become bitter and blame men for their confusion. Along the way, we emasculate the institutions that were necessarily masculine for our protection, notably the military. As an example, on Wednesday, the U.S. Marines celebrated the LGBTQAAIP+2 parentheses exclamation mark upside down question mark month by tweeting a picture of a combat helmet adorned with rainbow-colored bullets. And if you guys watch my live stream that I did over on Locals last night, I talked about this. So what do men do? They recoil and they retreat. They leave the stage for hysterical epsilon men like Beto O'Rourke, who whine and posture but can't protect a thing. And when we need strong, quick-thinking Gary Cooper to save us from the outlaws, he's nowhere to be found. He has been rendered extinct, leaving 19 kids to be ended inside a classroom, while men and women wearing the legacy costume of toxic masculinity stand around waiting for orders. We make men without chests and expect from them virtue and enterprise. C.S. Lewis foretold in his dystopian 1943 book, The Abolition of Men. We laugh at honor and are shocked to find traitors in our midst. We castrate and bid the geldings be fruitful. I know it's a little bit of a kind of a artful long piece, but her main point does strike true. We tell men that if you're any of these positive, what I consider to be positive masculine traits, that you're actually negative, that you're toxic. But then we go on to cheer men that want to equate themselves equal to women, or they're in touch with their feelings, or that they cry at a drop of a hat. And it's not to say that men shouldn't be emotional, but we need to find a positive outlet for that emotion, and that in and of itself is stoicism. It is virtue. It is caring for others. But we're training the next younger generation of men to be weak and to be, subservient. And that women are the strongest, most capable, smartest, ass-kicking, lead character in the movie or in real life. And so is it any wonder that men say, all right, well, if you're so great, you can handle problems yourself. Handle it yourself. You don't need me. And when you tell men enough, or often enough, that you don't need them, and they say, okay, we'll listen to you, we'll go away, you can't just spin around 180 and go, where were you? Why aren't you here protecting us? Why have you abandoned the community? It's literally what these women ask for, and these leftists ask for, and then when men do it, surprise Pikachu face. I want to show this graphic here, and then I'm going to do the video that I was talking about. And this is from Sesame Street. I watched Sesame Street when I was, I guess, 4, 5, 6, whatever it was, years old. And this is from Sesame Street, just posted here this year, a couple months ago. Billy Porter bringing those fierce vibes to Sesame Street. His fierce vibes is the top half, a very tight-fitting tuxedo. It looks like he has lip gloss on. And the bottom half is a dress. This is not a man that's going to run in and protect someone, or go into a building that's on fire, or defend someone's honor. He'd trip over his own petty skirts. If you went in to help a kid that was caught in a burning building or something or other, his own dress would get caught on fire. Let me do this video here. And again, this is from a YouTuber, Modern Women Archives. Not sure how big the channel is. He doesn't show how many subs he has on here. But this was just posted earlier today. And I want you guys to hear this because I think it's accurate. But the women have told men, look, we don't like you jeering at us or talking to us when we don't want you to talk to us, or looking at us or staring at us or appreciating us. It's toxic. So again, men have said, okay, if this is what you want, we'll step out of the way. And now all of a sudden it's, well, why don't men ask me out anymore? Why don't men pay attention to me anymore? And women are coming to the realization, well, I guess I'm going to have to ask men out. And what's funny is when they do, I have a feeling a lot of men will turn them down, and they can get to feel what it's like for rejection. So let me play a couple minutes of this. It's only about 2 minutes long.
Question with you guys. What's going on with guys not approaching women anymore? Like, if I make eye contact with you and you're checking me out and you're staring at me for like 10 minutes, I don't know, maybe stop being creepy and come up and say hello. I don't know. Food for thought. Like,
let me pause it right there. There's her soap. There, she says it all right there. If you're staring at me and looking at me and checking me out, but you're not coming up to me, you're creepy. Now, if a woman says, hey, quit looking at me, you're creepy, just come over and talk to me, that's a very mixed message, wouldn't you say? Can you imagine saying that to a girl? Quit staring at me, you're creeping me out, just come over and talk to me. Like, I get her point. She's like, but here's the thing, you've trained men to where if a man goes up and greets a woman, he may be called a creeper. He may be she may take his photo or his information and put him on blast on social media. If maybe he's not up to her looks standards, because obviously she's talking about somebody that she would like to talk to. But a guy doesn't know if she wants to talk to him. It's a gamble. And if you're an average dude, you might be saying to yourself, man, she's kind of cute. She keeps seeing me look at her. But I'm not going to go up and talk to her because she's probably going to call me a creep and put me on blast on social media. So I'm not going to do it. Wants no part of it.
Why aren't you guys approaching women anymore? Like, I was at a bar and everyone is in their own groups, not approaching strangers. Like, not one guy, not even just for me, not one guy went up to a girl and just started talking to her. It was so weird. And I'm like, how am I supposed to meet people?
You're not supposed to meet people. This is your own doing. And you notice, like she said, it's not just to her, it's all guys are not approaching any women. The guys that are good looking and attractive and have it going on, they're on Tinder, probably smashing all the time. They get all the ladies. Their dance card is full. They have no more room for other women until they get bored of one of their other ones. The dating guys call it spinning plates. And that's kind of been in the old circus. You'd have the stick with a spin a plate on it, and you'd wiggle the stick until that plate spins, and it'll spin for about 30 seconds or a minute without you touching it, and then you have to run back over and spin it a little more. These popular guys will have 4, 5, 6 plates, 4, 5, 6 women, all going at the same time, texting this one, messaging this one, hooking up with this one, making out with this one, going on a date with this one, and they have a stable full of women. They have too many women to deal with. So until they get rid of 1 or 2, they have no more room for these women. So those guys are off the table, or are pretty hard to catch. You know, the top 10 percenters. The rest of the probably the next, I don't know, 20, 30, 40% of guys are like, nah, I could shoot my shot. I'll probably get shot down and get made fun of or get called out, or I don't know, get the cops called on me and be called creepy. I don't want it. But they're still interested in dating.
Okay, PMARS. I'll address this. Free will? It proves free will? Are you dare saying that it's free of causality? The human will is free of causality? So answer me this, Brother PMARS. Can the human will be independent of God? Yes or no? Can the human will be independent of God? Yes or no?
And so they go to the safe haven of online dating, on the app dating. And then there's probably, I would say, between 30 and 50% of men that are just like, I'm out. Like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. But again, you get what you ask for. And she's noticing it. And again, she's not an unattractive girl, or young woman, I guess I should say. But this is kind of what you asked for. Let's see what the next one has. Not my problem.
So it's been brought to my attention that men no longer want to come up to women anymore due to sex allegations, women being just so rude and disrespectful, and rejection. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know men didn't want to come up to women anymore. I'm barely finding this out. Why do women choose to cuss guys out when they come up to them and approach them? I have no idea. I apologize for that. But there's just too many fine men. And if it takes me, the women, having to come up to you guys and shooting my shot, saying what's up, being the big stepper, then I'll just have to do that.
Yeah, here's the thing. Okay, now, obviously she sounds like kind of an average woman that's like, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm not a hater. This is new to me. Why do women do this to men? And then she says, I guess I'm going to have to be the big one and step up and ask these dudes out. I got news for you, gal. The problem is she's going to be like most other women, which is she's only going to go for the best of the best of the best. She's not going to ask out somebody that's appropriate for her, her looks and her age and her bracket. She's going to shoot her shot high, and she's going to get kept being turned down. Or again, a guy may smash and then decide to move on. And then she's going to get bitter and she's going to be angry about it. But she's not even, quote, part of the problem, so to speak, but she's feeling the effects of this problem. Let's hear from another one. Go for it.
Ladies, I know it's scary, but go ahead and ask out that guy. Last night, I asked out the guy that I've liked for such a long time. I did that. And did he say yes? Absolutely not.
Frankly, I don't think you're my type. Ow. Real men.
So, and again, this is from Modern Women Archives, so good on you for that. I don't have the patience to put collections like that together, but I appreciate him doing that. But this is where we are. And she shot her shot, and she got rejected. She liked them for the longest time. Men have to go through that. But the roles are you know, here's the funny thing. Women have ruined this so much for men, and it's ruining it for society. It's ruining the protective men, the strong men, the dominant men, the aggressive men, the men that will just stride up to a woman and ask her out, go on a date with her, protect her, help her, pull over on the side of the road to help her fix a flat. Guy did that, and she made false claims against him. It cost him his marriage. It cost him tens of thousands of dollars to defend himself. And only a video camera at a gas station showed she was lying. But what if that video didn't exist? That guy would have been toast. And that one incident from that one woman will make men think, what if that happens to me? What if that happens to me? Is it worth me risking my career, my family, my relationships, maybe my job, my good name? I might even get thrown in jail on this to help a woman change a flat tire? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so, son. And lastly, I'll wrap it up with this. And these are a couple screenshots that I grabbed off Reddit. And this is from a Jenny G and a response by Alicia R. Jenny G says, I miss the traditional families from like the 50s. I think that's how things work the best. A man working, a woman staying home, cleaning, cooking, and raising the kids. It's society that has made it to where a woman is a failure for being a stay-at-home mom. Now they're stressed to the max. Kids are being raised by their school, and men come home to a chaotic house while being belittled by a stressed wife. Then on top of that, technology, social media, etc., has made a culture to where you can move on to someone else so easily. No need to be tied down to just one man or one woman. Men are turning to men, or guys going their own way. Women are on meds and turning into blue-haired cat ladies. I wish males would be gentlemen and females would be ladies. It started with the women, and men are responding to the women's market right now. Men are responding to what they're being told and what they're being taught by, again, movies, society, commercials, TV shows, the media, social media, high school, middle school. And this Alicia R responds, Jenny G, I'd love to be a stay-at-home wife and eventually a mom, but here I am working 40+ hours a week, stressed out to the max. I can't get pregnant because of stress probably, and always too tired to do anything. Thank you, feminists, for making women today overworked, fatherless, and miserable. And when she says fatherless, I think she's talking about the kids that she might have. So, again, this is another case, and I do a lot of these videos where it's ladies, you're getting what you asked for. And even the ladies that didn't ask for this, you're not standing up and speaking back out against the crazies. You just silently sit on the bench. You say, hey, I'm not one of those women. It's men's problem, or it's the crazies' problem. I'm going to stay out of this. And then when the men try to speak up, they're told patriarchy and bad and racist and all the other isms. And guys just say, I'm not, you know what, just leave me alone. It's not worth the fight. And then when the good women can't find a good man, and they meet players or they meet dudes that are too shy to ask them out, or and won't protect the family and won't protect the community, don't want to sign up. You know, during WW1, WW2, there were guys that were 15 and 16 stealing their brother's IDs so they could go sign up to fight the Germans. Not anymore. Now you got 20, 21-year-old, 22-year-olds that cry when they're called the wrong pronoun. You get what you ask for. You get what you ask for.
So, we're exploring causality. What exactly is causality? What causes the rain to fall on the just and the unjust? What causes the sun to bless the poor and the rich? What causes do we have for paid police officers to wait longer than an hour to go in there to stop a school shooting? But a guy who's got skin in the game, his own kids are in that school, he goes in and he stops the matter. We're exploring causality. And so with the argument that we have an absolutely free will, free of causality, free of influence, we're not making any sense at all. We're not looking at God. We're just worshiping the human and the human will, and we're just dancing and pretending that we are independent of God and the human will is independent of God. And our whole destiny our, shall we say, our origin too? No, no, no. We don't push it that far. We got more sense than that. Origin and destiny are matters of the purpose of God. What is God purposing in all of this, Bucky? So, there are causal reasons for everything. Why was, how about this for a causal exploration? Why were there no mega prosperity oriented churches in the 1930s during the Great Depression? There were causal reasons for it. The whole damn country, the whole damn world was in a Great Depression. And so you can't preach the prosperity gospel during that time period. Everybody will know that you're full of shit. Okay, so it is a great mistake not to keep searching for God to the point where you come to the conclusion that God is the ultimate causal reason for everything, both in front of the scenes and behind the scenes. You can't even take a crap without causal reasons being there. Our will is not free of causality. And to prattle on that human destiny is a result of the human free will choosing good as opposed to evil, or choosing Christian life as opposed to worldly life, and therefore you will get heaven and not hell. And don't blame the Christian, don't blame God. That's it. Don't blame God for sending a fella to hell, because he had a free will. He could have done otherwise. No, God is the causal reason for everything. Our will is not free of influence, of causality, and in fact, we have just as much right to say that our will is in bondage as we have to say that our will is free of causality. Check it out, dude. Romans 9:16 and 9:18. It is not of him that willeth, nor him that raceth, but of God the merciful. And the other verse says something about that let's see, what does it say? Let me find Romans 9 for you, since I can't quite remember. Okay, I found Romans 9. Let me scroll down to 16 and 19. Okay, 16 says, consequently, it is not of him who is willing, nor him who is racing, but of God the merciful. And then verse 18 says, consequently, to whom he will, he is merciful. Yet to whom he will, he is hardening. If your heart is hard, it is he, God, who is hardening. To whom he will, he is hardening. To whom he will, he is merciful. Because this whole story is God's story. Anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of this fella over on a channel called The Better Bachelor. And again, he doesn't care anything about theology. He was just exploring modern day culture and current events in light of causality. Okay, let me put in the text Romans 9:18, and here it is. Yep, there we go. Consequently, then, to whom he will, he is merciful, yet to whom he will, he is hardening. We are very much subject to the designs and plan of God, both in this eon and the eons to come. God is in control of everything, and that's why we should and can trust him. But if the humans are the determiners of their destiny, man, we have no reason to trust God about these things. We have to trust our trust and believe in our belief and have faith in our faith. Are you with me, baby? Probably not. Seems like you don't understand God's plan. So here's God's plan in a nutshell. Christ went to the cross, and God raised him from the dead 3 days later. That's the plan of God. That is the revelation of God. That is the prophecy of God. That is the testimony of God. So there you have it. Exit stage right. Thanks for joining me. If you got a kick out of this, go ahead and like and share it. And we'll get out of here in under an hour. How about that? Uh-oh. Hang on. Brother Anthony, holy smokes.
I've been working a lot.
Oh, yeah?
Busy.
Welcome home.
Welcome home. I'm not home yet. A couple more months.
Uh-huh.
So, while we're on the free will discussion, I'll start off by saying they come up with these scriptures about people choosing things in the Bible. Make this choice or make that choice, right?
Yeah.
And they're not seeing that it's a relative verse. And what I got to say about that is, like Star Wars was written before the movie came to be, and Luke Skywalker's in the movie, and Darth Vader's over here trying to say make the choice to the dark side. Obi-Wan Kenobi's over here saying make the choice to the light. Well, why did he have to? The choice is already written, so why'd they put it in the movie? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just part of the script that God had already wrote, that it will be to make this choice is in the movie. It's part of the drama.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the unfolding of God.
The purpose of God.
Right. Mm-hmm. And we won't see the end of the movie until the consummation of the eons.
Right. And God's motives are good, so they're not evil. If we see it as evil as we're going through the movie, his purpose is to turn that evil to good, because his motives are good. Because evil is neutral. It's all about motives. And God's motives are good.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Right?
Right. Keep going. You got the floor, baby.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the illustration. And I've been thinking about this. I actually told my son about this, and he gets it. I was telling you about choosing the apple and the banana, but I came up with a little thing beforehand. Like when we put a movie in the VCR, the DVD, right?
Yeah.
When we watch a 20-second scene, right? And then we go ahead and replay that scene. Is the scene always the same in the movie every single time?
Yes, it is.
It is. Why is that? Because nothing has changed. Everything is the same in that universe of that CD. So as we're going through this movie, and I open the fridge to choose an apple or a banana, and I choose the apple, if we replay that, scene, could I have chosen the banana if all things in the universe are exactly the same? No, I would always choose the exact same thing because all things are the same. Now, if something changed as you were grabbing the apple, a thought came to your head, or your taste buds changed out of your control, and you grabbed the banana, then something outside of you caused you to choose the banana. So, if the answer is that you will always choose the same, then that means we have no free will. If it's for one choice, it's going to be for every single choice we make in life. And if the answer is we choose the banana, then something changed as you were grabbing the apple. That's going to be outside of your control. Then that means we have no free will. So whichever one you choose, it was already predestined to choose. Either way.
Right.
And people can't see it, but it's a flow of, the atoms, even the atoms in your body can cause you to make a subtle change to where you would choose the banana. Well, that's something different that caused you to choose something different if you replayed that scene. So, but if the scene is exactly the same from the point you walking to the fridge, opening the fridge, and choosing the apple, if everything flows the same, you have to choose the apple every time. There is no choice in it.
Right. So there are causal reasons making you choose one thing above another thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you don't know what those causal reasons are, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. It just means you don't know.
Right. And that's why they always say, they don't say a thought came from you. They always say a thought came to you.
Wow.
So you're opening the door, you got your eyes set on that apple, you're going to grab it, and then all of a sudden a thought came to you about an apple you had 5 years ago that didn't taste so well, so you decided to choose the banana. Well, that thought came to you, not from you, it came to you at that moment to persuade you to choose the banana. Or it could be factors during the day, the temperature in the room, your mood, every single thing matters. In the universe, God has it all perfectly in cohesion.
Right, right.
And like I say, if the cohesion is exactly the same and you replay that scene over and over a billion times, you're always going to do the same thing because you have no choice in the matter.
You're on, P. Mars. What do you got?
Would you guys agree that God is love?
100%.
Would you agree that freedom is a property of love?
Freedom is a property of love. I would say that knowing that God is in control of everything is ultimate freedom. Then we are in control of anything. That would kind of spin me like I'm in control of something. Make me think that maybe the universe is not under God's control. So I think the freedom is knowing that God is in control of everything. And he's the driver of the bus. And
are you on drugs?
no, I'm not.
So is freedom, would you say freedom is a property of love? Yes or no?
Yes. Freedom,
Okay.
knowing God. Go ahead.
Right. So when you love someone, you don't want them to be your slave. You want them to have freedom, and you want them to choose to love you on their own free will. You don't want to, you can't really force them to love you. If you force it, it's not true love, right?
I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, man.
So if God is love and love is freedom is a property of love, then God would use his love to set us free. Does that not make sense?
Then,
well,
if that was the case, then we'd have.
Hang on, Anthony, hang on. So you're using love as a metaphor. And so if you want someone to love you, like in a girl situation, you give them roses and wine. But isn't that rather manipulative? Isn't that causing them to make a choice about you drive up in a $100,000 car. You show them your bank statement that you are rich, rich, rich.
Yeah, that's
everything.
erotic love, though. That's not agape.
Yeah. Your metaphor is weak, is what I'm saying.
It's not.
Thank you for your most excellent opinion.
You're welcome.
So what's your name? P?
P Mars.
Okay. Did you hear my explanation about choosing the apple or banana?
Yeah, kind of. It's kind of hard to follow, but
Okay. So if all things in the universe are the same, and you choose the apple and you replay the scene, you're saying you can choose the banana now if you replayed it again. I say you would always choose the apple if everything in the universe is the same, and you would have to choose the apple unless something changed, caused you to choose the banana. So if you choose the apple, which you would every single time, that means that's one choice. That means that's the same for every single choice you ever make in your life. And then if you choose the banana, something outside you caused you to choose the banana, like a thought came to you as you were choosing the apple, then that means that was out of your control too. So both scenarios proves no free will.
well, I would agree that there are like factors that determine the outcome of events. So there are like determinisms in reality, but I would argue that the fact that we can analyze and have knowledge, be aware of these deterministic factors means that we can overcome them, right? So the very fact that we're aware of them means that there is a free will because we can choose to do something different.
Well, I would say that the fact that we're aware of them is a gift from God making us aware of them. That's all. Some people ain't aware of them. I would say all is from God. He gives to who he wants, when he wants, and how he wants. And that we're all ending up in the same destination.
But yeah, I mean, I believe in freedom. So like, you guys are free to, disagree with me or whatever.
I think going down that rabbit hole of free will, if a person really meditates on it, maybe for a year or two, they'll figure that there's no possible way, really. Not in the universe God created.
Well, I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you guys. So I thank you for the opportunity, and God bless you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we got that cleared up. What did we get cleared up? Oh, that there are causes. There are causal reasons. There is causality. I think that's what we established.
Right, and there's a difference between determinalism and predetermination. Determinalism can actually be without a God. It's like the Big Bang exploded and everything's kind of going its flow, and you can look ahead and see, well, this has to be like that. This bounces off that. Cue ball bounces off the 9. It's going to go here. You could do a computer simulation and find out where everything is going. Predestination is God wrote the script before it happened. And determinism and predestination can be part of God, where determinism also can be with no God. But predestination has to have a God.
Right.
And fatalism can't be true on either one, because if you got in your mind, well, if God's controlling everything, I'm just going to sit on the couch and do nothing. Well, if God wrote that you will get off that couch tomorrow and do something, then you will do it. So you can't really be a fatalist, even if you say you can be a fatalist.
Right.
He will cause something to happen where you get off the couch.
Oh, here's a nice comment. We have a script, and it's called Scripture. So for you boys and girls out there in the audience, we are contending that man's will cannot be apart from God. Man cannot exist, man's will cannot exist apart from God. And that God is the ultimate cause and causality for everything in the universe. And on a small level, we can determine that various things are happening by a causality. You know, what causes the mean girls at high school to be mean? What? Well, they have a causal reason. And I would say that they're mean because death is operating in them. Mortality is operating them. All Romans 5:12. Through one man, sin entered into the world, and through sin, death entered into the world, and death was passed through. Mortality was passed through into all mankind. So there are causal reasons for where we are in the world right now. And if you don't understand causal reasons, well, then you're stuck being subjected to the winds and the gales and the tides. If you understand causal reasons, maybe you can, hoist the sails in one way or another way. But it takes a while to figure out causal reasons and to come to a new conclusion about the causal reasons. And if you know a storm is coming, you batten down the hatches. Or if you're like the central banks of the world, you keep printing money, thinking there will be no cause, no dramatic event, until we realize one day that every government has a secret department. Talk about conspiracy theories. This secret department of the government is called the Department of Unintended Consequences. We didn't mean for this to happen. Everything that happens has a causal reason. As EMC says, what is at the bottom of the universe? Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, a lot of them say that just because God knows, like he wrote in his comment, and I hear this a lot, just because God knows the future doesn't mean he is controlling everything. Well, in that verse, it does say God proclaims the end from the beginning, and that proclaims basically is God operating. It's not that he just knows it, he proclaims the end from the beginning. And to get to that end, you have to have everything leading up to it in control. So let's just give an example. If God knows that I will go tomorrow and get a loaf of bread at 3 p.m., do I have a choice tomorrow not to get the loaf of bread at 3 p.m.?
No, I guess not.
No. And then they'll say, well, God lives outside of time. But in my relative point of view, coming from me, if God knows that I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it tomorrow.
Right. Hey, Anthony, did you hear the episode we did a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, of Adley Loudy's old radio messages?
Bits and pieces.
Well, in one of those messages, he said something that was absolutely mind-blowing. He said that even in our language and the way we talk, we can see that time itself comes out of the future. Whereas in theology, they suggest that time comes out of the past. But in our common language, we say, Christmas is coming, New Year's is coming, Easter is coming. So we admit in our just common vocabulary that time comes out of the future, arrives at the present, and moves into the past.
Oh.
And just that very thought that time comes out of the future tells me that God has this. God is in control. He is the future. So of course time would come out of the future. Isn't that a cool thought, that time comes out of the future?
I'd have to definitely ponder on that. That's a good thinking point.
Yeah, but we in the Christian world, we have our time words all screwed up thanks to Wycliffe and Jerome. We have no idea what's going on with God and his purpose because we don't understand time itself. Time is a measure of change. Change is coming out of the future.
Right. Wow, that's interesting. I'll ponder that and get back to you on that after I think about it deeply for a little.
Okay. Yeah, I heard it say on Wednesday. I forgot what day we published it, but all the next day I was thinking about this idea that time comes out of the future. What a mind-blowing concept. And who can argue with it? But we do argue in our theology. In popular theology, we have the past as the establishment and the future as sketchy, right?
Right.
Because we give so much glory to free will that a fellow can do this or he can do that. There's no causal reasons for him to do this or that. He could do either one. We don't know which he's going to do. So we're giving more credence to the past than we are to the future. But change comes out of the future. Time itself, which is a measure of change, comes out of the future, and the future is God.
Well, I know they did that. I told you they did that study at Stanford or something where they gave you a questionnaire, 30 questions or something, and then asked you, they can predict 85% of what you will choose. And that is just a little questionnaire, and they can predict it at that higher rate. Now, if they knew every single detail down to the atom, your DNA, your mood, everything, they'd be able to predict 100%. But they don't have all the factors on the questionnaire. And to be able to see what a person would choose at that high of rate, just by a simple questionnaire, should show that there's no free will.
There's a line in a movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but it was starring John Malkovich. John Malkovich. I think it was called The Rising Sun. It had something to do with the sun in the title. And it was about this kid who was in a concentration camp in China. And John Malkovich said that a man will do anything for a potato. How's that for free will? Keep going. It's your show, baby.
Well, I'm thinking about God, and a lot of people, I don't think, understand that God is everywhere. All the billions of atoms you have in your body, God is there. Every single DNA in a blade of grass, God is there. Everywhere in the universe, God is there. You can't operate outside of God. And when you see that in your mind, that he is every single thing, and it opens your mind to who God really is. And for me, it's very freeing knowing that God is in control of everything. And like the guy came on and he said, freedom for me would be God's in control of everything. And in this life, we get desires. We don't know where our desires come from. And they come from God. But in this life, God doesn't let us complete most of our desires. We don't even get to, and I think that's kind of like a foreshadowing of what God will implement in the future, where he will give you these desires and you will be able to fulfill all your desires. Now that's freedom. He will give you the desires and you fulfill the desires. Because like I said before, every single choice you will actually make in life, if you got to really think about this, but every single choice you make in life is what you desire most. You could desire one thing just 1% more than the other, and you will choose the one you desire most. And someone will say, well, that's not true. What if you desire the one that's least? Well, then if you desire the one that's least, then that becomes more desire. Then you choose to go against your desire that you had the most, then that becomes more desirable for you. So you will choose what's more desirable every time. And the desires don't come from you. They come from God. Or they come from an intermediate of Satan, which God is in complete control and using as a tool for different reasons, for teachable reasons, for contrast experience, for that. What's the verse where it says, we are going through an experience of evil, which is an experience of evil on earth, to humble us. And the most humbling thing I would think would be to know that we're not in control of anything. That to me is humbling all the way. I think God is in control of everything.
Yeah.
And to get to that point, he's got to humble you on steps all the way down until you get to the final humbleization, so to speak. God's operating now. It's his purpose, not ours. And a lot of the desires we have in this life that we don't get to, maybe God will have us fulfill those desires in the future. Or he'll change our desires. And we won't desire those things of the flesh anyway. Desire things of the spirit. And those desires will come from God also. Which is part of our desires come from DNA, influences that were set around you, and things you might have a desire to go to. I always have a desire to go to the beach and drink a Corona. And someone might have a desire to go to the desert or go to the mountains, and that's their beauty and that's their peace. Well, that desire comes from God, not from us. I can't say something that I don't like I'm not really fond of, let's say, going in the middle of a high desert where there's just flat land and just get peace there. That's not my desire that God put in me. And I can't just will myself to really like that. Someone else may. Because that's another thing. Our wills are from God also to combat his will intentionally. And our will is placed some in our DNA and some in our innermost being. When he knitted us together, he kind of put our will in there too. And our will also grows as we grow. And that is to oppose God's will intentionally.
Out of God's intention.
God's intention, right?
Right.
Right. We can oppose God's will, but we can't oppose God's intention.
Right.
And that's from God too, because that's what God wants us. That's what his intention is. Like he wants his children to go astray a little bit. See how that works out for you. And then bring you home.
So in Romans 9, we have this precious verse. We're not as yet being born nor putting anything in practice, good or bad, that the purpose of God may be remaining as the choice of God, not out of acts, but out of him who is calling.
Which is God. Can you go to that verse, Romans 9, what is it?
That was 9:11.
Can you go down?
To what?
9, maybe 27, is it? Somewhere in there, where it talks about the complete sovereignty of where Paul asks the question, then how can you be blaming us? If you can get to that verse.
Verse 19. You will be protesting to me then, right?
Right, that's it.
Okay, verse 19. Hang on, here it is. You will be protesting to me then. Why? Why then is he still blaming, for who has withstood his intention?
Right. So that question right there, just to even get to the question, to ask the question, shows that God's in complete control. Because we will be saying, well, why did you make us like this? If I went and shot up Texas school, why did you make me like that?
Yeah.
We ask the question. And to even have that question in scripture shows that God's in complete control. Because the question would have never been brought up and people would never ask that question unless an epiphany came to them when they finally realized, oh, God's in complete control. Then they'll ask the question. And guess what? The question you ask comes from God also.
Yeah. That's clever. So if God stirs inside of you to say, why are you still blaming? For who has withstood his intention? Absolutely nobody.
Question mark. Who has withstood his intention? Nobody. Why did you make me this way?
Right.
Well, that don't show no. As a matter of fact, that obliterates any freedom of choice at all.
Yeah.
Like a lot of other verses, like that fly by people's heads of God doing this and God doing that, and it's God's will, and then all is of God, and we live and move and breathe and are in Him. When you could go out all through Scripture and just find it everywhere, thousands. And like I gave the Star Wars analogy, that just because you have a choice, did Luke Skywalker have a choice in that movie? From the relative point of view, it looks like he had a choice to choose the light or the darkness, but it was already written that he would choose the light. He had no choice in the matter.
Right.
But going through the relative, as the scenes play out, you're thinking, well, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do? Well, the writer knew what he was gonna do, right?
Exactly. The creator of
Because he wrote it.
The creator of Star Wars knew exactly what he was going to do.
Right, but you have to have that. That's the compelling thing. The choice is, and like Martin calls it, the bubble of ignorance. That's part of the story. Is the choices that we think we're making. See, the guy playing Luke Skywalker knows how the scene's going to go, but we don't know what God wrote for us. And as a matter of fact, God injects himself into the story. It's like the director. Who was the writer and director of Star Wars?
George Lucas.
George Lucas. See, in that, he doesn't inject himself into the movie, but in God's movie here, he injects himself into the movie and actually plays a part in the movie and taught through scripture. And then he also gives hints in scripture that he is in control of everything, that you have to separate the absolute verses from the relative verses. It's really fascinating, actually. That's like Luke and Darth Vader and Obi-Wan not knowing they're in a movie, and then George Lucas actually giving hints that the movie's already written. And having some of people figure it out that it is, and most people not figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I mean, think about Star Wars. If it's already, if if we already know, if it's already written that Luke Skywalker is going to choose the light, then why is Darth Vader over there saying choose the darkness? That's what a Christian will tell you, basically. Well, if it's already written, then why, this or that? Well, that's part of the story. That makes for a compelling story. That Darth Vader's over there tugging, and Obi-Wan's over there tugging the other way.
Say hi to Cade.
Hey, Anthony, what's up?
Jeremy, what's up?
I love hearing your breakdowns. It's just so matter of fact with a laugh at the end.
Right. I always, that free will thing is like my favorite subject to talk about, actually. Think about it a lot.
Ridiculous.
And it gets me through a lot of situations in life.
Right.
I'll stop instead of getting angry. I'll be like, why is God doing this? Okay.
Right.
He's doing it for me, not to me. Okay, what's he? And then he'll put the thoughts in my head and he'll reveal some things, which I know I'm not creating my own thoughts. I don't even know what I'm going to think 20 seconds from now.
Right. Yeah, we're in school. Worse than school. I mean, we can't even choose. I mean, we can't choose to make our hearts stop or beat. It's silly.
Right. And to me, isn't that ultimate freedom to you too, Jeremy? Knowing that God's in control?
Oh, totally. I mean, man, the other way is just like, golly, you have to make a right decision how many do you make all day? I mean, golly, it's endless. How do you even live? And God forbid you get a mass of people thinking that you made a mistake that you can't take back. Oh, dear God. This is total death is what it is. Destruction, division. It's the kettle calling itself black.
Right.
I just don't understand how it's not just basic like preschool. If you can't get it right, if you're not holy in the sense of not sinning at all, if you can't get it right, how dare you even tell someone what they have to do to get it right? What the heck? That's pretty audacious, isn't it?
Right. When we're all making mistakes.
Right, constantly. I guess it's whoever can lie the best and not share the mistakes or have those mistakes be sniffable on you. I guess that's the game. Make people feel good about calling you elder or brother. Or God forbid, pastor. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's what, and you sin the same? I mean, what the hell? What's the point?
This may not be true to all people or all, but I found a kind of theme that I'm just going to give women an example, and I'm not ragging on women. This could be men
in general. Yeah,
this is just a general human thing. Like let's just say there's a real slutty girl, and then there's a really good girl around the corner. I found out that the good girl ain't near as good as you think she is, and the bad girl ain't near as bad as you think she is.
That's something.
I've seen that situation so many times, and it's everyone that we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
It's because we're all presenters, and then whatever we're presenting, odds are that's manufactured to some extent. So there must be some deficit there if someone's making sure you see a godly person in front of you that smiles all the time and has that free-floating look of Christ in your eyes. It's easy to pull off at game time. That's 10 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. and then church is over.
So I'm assuming, Cade, you didn't see the beginning of this show?
What was the very beginning?
For the first 30, 40 minutes, we played one of the videos from Better Bachelor.
Oh no, I didn't. I like him.
He's a good egg, yeah. And the title of his episode was something about the reason that the school shooting happened was because we had accused men of being toxic masculinity so much that the paid cops, sat around for over an hour doing nothing.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw his breakdown.
They're kind of saying, you women have said we're toxic masculinity, so you go solve the damn problem. We'll just wait right here.
Yeah, there's no doubt. You even heard it when, and I do it too. Like when Anthony was
my point in bringing it up is that he was showing that there are reasons happening. There are causal reasons for our popular current events and our popular culture, and nobody can say it's just there's random that's going on. We can't blame anybody or anything. He was showing that there are reasons going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Why did those cops sit on their thumbs for 90 minutes? There are causal reasons. But the guy who took action, he has reasons too. The one guy who took action, his kids were in there. He had skin in the game.
Right.
He's the one who stopped to the mayhem.
Well, even the reasons of the school shootings, if you look back to when Columbine happened, maybe 2000, was it? That was a big deal. And because that was very, very rare. And that was the first major one, right? And putting it on the news gave people ideas to go do this thing now. So now, since then, we've had, I've seen a list. There was like thousands of school shootings since then.
Yeah, they know that
It's like a normal thing because it's on TV all the time. Now, if they had never shown that and there was no TV, there's a cause that gave the idea. Oh, they're shooting up schools. I'm gonna go shoot up the school. But if that kid never knew about other people shooting up schools, he may not have went and shot up schools. That wouldn't have been his first. Maybe he just would have took his own life or something.
So go on.
Go ahead.
I have an answer as to your question in the thing was going to be. I have an answer, but you're not going to like it. And it involves the C word.
Because you're the great wild heart.
It involves the C word as well, so you can guess that one. And what was the other one? There are reasons for everything, yes.
I have an answer. My answer is there are causal reasons for everything.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. There are reasons for everything. Yeah. Well, the first one, if you were, I know you don't believe it's all powerful, do you? If you had enough power to stop,
if you,
yeah, would you do that?
He didn't know it. He wrote it though. But you're not.
Responsible for it, then.
We're not seeing the total outcome of it. We're not seeing what God is going to do with these people after. And so the outcome, the final outcome. See, there's a reason people are going through these evil experiences that are going to benefit them. And so when we see that, it's like Jesus going to the cross and dying for humanity. That was the most evil murder. And look what it's going to do. Everyone's going to have eternal bliss. I'm not eternal, forever bliss after resurrection because
immortality.
Why are there still shootings then? If that was the ultimate sacrifice and that solved everything, why are there still shootings?
Because, Wildheart, you have been infected by the eternity cult.
Right.
know. You don't know that time comes out of the future, arrives at the present, and moves toward the past. Your infection by the eternity cult has time coming out of the past and moving toward the future.
Because that's how we experience it.
Now, even in our common language, we say that time comes out of the future. We say Christmas is coming, my birthday is coming, July 4th is coming. Time moves out of the future, arrives at the present, and then moves into the past.
No, we
the source of time, and time is a measure of change. Things are changing. You're just in a hurry, that's all.
No, we move through time into the future. It's not time coming towards us. It's us going towards the future.
The future comes to us.
No, we move towards the future.
Thank you for your most excellent opinion. But my opinion, since I'm up here in the corner of the screen, my opinion.
Yeah, you still don't get to run the time.
Oh, yes, I do.
No, still leave it right or wrong.
I'm the boss of you because I'm older than you.
You can be right, but yeah.
Like Ace always says, evil plus time equals good. To me, I see it like a teeter-totter. Two people on a teeter-totter. So the more evil you get, the bigger guy on the left side of the teeter-totter is more evil. So the more evil you get is going to be better for the people because it's going to do a total flip to that much evil to that much good.
How does that work mechanically?
The guy's going to switch from God's going to flip it. So the more evil is going to be the more good.
This is a lot of
flipping it.
Things to. But how does evil flip to good? Does he just flick a switch? No, it's good. How does he?
He could.
What's the mechanism behind that?
He could flip the switch, but he wants us to go through this experience. We're going through the experience.
Right. So you have people dead. You have people dead. You have the shooter dead. You have families lost loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
That's all good.
No, it's right now. God's motives are good for it because right now they're going through that contrast experience. They're really going through that suffering and pain and agony, and he's going to flip that because when they reunite with their children, they're going to know that they have their forever bliss and immortality. What a moment that's going to be.
Yeah, but
and they don't ever have to worry about pain and suffering again.
That wouldn't have happened.
You can never have that moment. You can never have that moment if you don't have that experience.
Yeah, you can. They could have died of old age. It would have been exactly the same. They didn't need to get shot.
Yeah, but it was the pain and suffering that's going to create the good. The pain and the suffering is going to flip to good.
That's nonsense.
And you can't. There's a lot of things to be learned in pain and suffering, like forgiveness, empathy. All those things can't be if everything's just hunky dory.
But how can you learn something if you got no free will? How can you learn anything?
Because God puts it in you.
Exactly. He put it in you, so you don't need the experiences. That's what I'm saying. You don't need the experiences if God put it in you.
How do we? Okay, then how do we know we're going through this experience? Maybe God just put it in us to make us look like we're going through an experience, but it's all in 1 second because God's outside of time.
Bam.
If God's outside of time, maybe we are outside of time.
Once you let magic into the equation, anything can be possible. But you've no way of deciding what is going on. Once you let magic into the equation, you can literally make up anything and it could be true. That's the problem with magic.
Exactly. Maybe we are just going through a split-second experience, but God's downloading us like we're going through 100-year experience.
Yeah, maybe we are. Yeah, if you allow magic, then maybe we are. Yeah.
You're like the frog in the blender saying outside is all tumultuous.
Yeah. Once you let God in, once you let magic in, then literally anything could be the case. You can make up anything that could be true. That's
you know what magic? You know what's pretty magical? I'll tell you what's pretty magical is if we're sitting here talking to each other, and there's no God that created us and we just came to be, that's pretty darn magical to me.
We didn't just come to be. There was a long process of not biological evolution, but there was a long process of evolution of things.
Right, but we can't. We just pop. But what I'm saying is, if you go back in time, and this is also scripture. The scripture says that God always was and always will be. Well, if you go back, since we are here and talking to each other, then that means that something was always here. Because if there was nothing, then there would be nothing always here. So that means something always existed.
Energy has always existed. No God needed. No God required.
Right.
Energy has always existed.
Right. So your God is energy always existed. Our God is God always existed.
It's just energy. It's not a God. I don't call it God. It's not no properties of God. It's just energy has always existed. It's not a God.
Right. Where did energy come from?
It's always existed.
Huh?
It's always existed. It didn't come from anywhere.
Right. But how did it have wisdom?
It doesn't have wisdom. It's energy.
It did. Oh, so wisdom created itself out of no wisdom?
Wisdom got created when minds started existing. Wisdom comes from minds.
Right. So what created? Yeah, but before there's minds, what caused the minds to get wisdom? That created a mind to have wisdom.
You can't have wisdom in minds without minds. Minds got created. They didn't get created. Minds came about first. Minds existed before the wisdom. You can't have a wisdom without your mind.
Okay, thank you, Albert, for your most excellent.
All right, I'll shut up.
Thank you, Wildheart.
You're up, Jeremy.
I just can't believe Wildheart, after learning all about all this corruption, when all groups of men get together in their little organizations with papers and documents, that he can fall for the evolution thing. The agnostic thing, yeah. But come on, Wildheart.
After all, he belongs to God.
Yeah, first of all, I'm an atheist. I'm an agnostic atheist. The evolution thing.
The evolution thing is
evolution is change in allele frequencies over time. That happened. That's demonstrable. Evolution is a fact. It happened. So I'm not falling for anything.
Where is it? I never see it happening now.
You mean you don't see species change to other species? That's because you don't live long enough. I think
we're devolving.
That's because you don't live long enough. No one lives long enough. But from the evidence that we have, we can work out that it did happen, and it is carrying on to happen.
Well, isn't it a theory? It's not a fact. It's still called a theory.
It's continuing to happen. Yes, please. Do you know what a theory is in science?
It's still a hypothesis.
It's not. It's a theory. It's a theory. It has been demonstrated. A theory is the highest thing you can get in science. There's nothing higher than a theory.
There is such a thing as conspiracy theorists.
Hey, Wildheart, have you ever seen that documentary? Have you ever seen that documentary called Idiocracy?
I've not, no.
Yeah, you should look for it on maybe YouTube has it on someplace. But it's a great documentary called Idiocracy.
Right.
Have you seen it, Cade?
What's that?
A documentary called Idiocracy.
I think I have seen some pieces of it, yeah.
Have you
seen can watch the whole thing on YouTube, I think.
And what's the premise? What's it about?
It's a documentary about this guy who goes into the future, and everybody there are idiots.
Sorry, I missed that. Walk up a sec.
It's a documentary about this guy who goes into the future.
Yeah.
And everybody there are idiots.
Right.
It's called Idiocracy.
Even if evolution were true, you're just kicking the can further down the road.
Why?
Because there's like you know the building scenario. I'm sitting here looking at KFC right now. If I sat there and told you KFC, if you asked me where'd that come from, and I said it came from nothing, that KFC, you'd think I'm crazy. Well, you're thinking all this stuff in the world came from nothing.
No,
Nothing.
I don't think nothing could ever exist.
There's
By
laws.
Nothing
There's
could ever
laws
exist.
of the universe.
There was never
Where do the
a
laws
state
of the
of
universe
nothing.
come from?
They just what happens when things exist.
Why are they called laws of the universe? Whose laws?
They're descriptive laws. They're just a way of explaining how things work. They're not laws. No one made them.
No one made it.
A theory of how things work. Just a theory.
Stop saying just a theory, please. You sound like a fucking idiot when you say just a theory. Learn what a scientific theory means. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be.
Just a theory. Just a theory.
I'm not
Just
trying to
a
be harsh, but you
theory.
sound like a freaking idiot. Learn what a scientific theory is. Just learn it, please. You sound like a buffoon.
It makes the world a better place. Just look around. It's just a theory. It makes you feel special.
At that point, that is willful ignorance.
Where did the primordial rock come from that all of the ooze that's just always been here slithered upon on the first day?
Wasn't primordial rock.
Yeah. Where's the surface for all these things to actually, where does it come from?
The surface was a planet.
But where did it come from? Where's the beginning? It's just a theory. It's just a theory.
What came first, the chicken or the egg, Wildheart?
The egg.
Okay, so the egg came, and then another egg would have had to come because it wasn't a male and a female would have had to came around the same time to make another one.
I don't know why. I can't remember how, but it is definitely the egg.
Okay, so it's the egg. So one egg came, and then that chicken died. Well, how come there's so many chickens? Or was there two eggs that came at the same time?
What was that called? Idiocy. Yes, I'll check that out. I will.
Yeah. There must have been two eggs. There must have been a male and a female egg at the same exact time in the same exact place, so they could. And then they would have had to known somehow to have sex to create another one. How'd they know all that?
Is he trolling now?
No, I'm just really asking a question to make you think about these things deeply.
There must have been two eggs. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Do you know how heavily influenced Darwin was by eugenics?
Doesn't matter.
It does.
Doesn't matter. The theory is either right or wrong, no matter who wrote it.
And that's just one.
Darwin was racist. Darwin was this. Darwin was that. Makes not a blind bit of difference. Doesn't matter. The theory is either right or it's not, and it's right. It happens to be.
And the chicken is just one example. We would have had to have the same thing happen for every single species on Earth.
That's right.
Of all the billions of species,
right.
They all would have had to had two, so they can multiply.
You cannot give me one example of organization out of chaos here on this in this life experience. Can you give me one? Just one. Where we could replicate it and duplicate it. Take chaos and just have it create organization.
Well, it depends on your definition of chaos.
No, it doesn't depend on anything. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
It depends on your definition of organization and chaos. I can't answer how did organization come
if
from
I was
chaos.
to say
definition of organization,
it does not. Look, if I was to say the intricate mechanical man-made gears and little bitty micro levers and levers in a pocket watch could never ever come together. It could never come together. And you're talking about biology where there's gears and levers down at a microscopic level. Almost you would fathom it's a whole city with a whole culture and a belief system intact operating in one cell.
You smashing everything together. Things happen very slowly over time.
Okay,
how convenient.
I'm sitting over here and I'm looking at a rock right now, and then over there's a piece of wood. So if I sat here for 100 billion years, would that rock ever evolve into something or that piece of wood?
No.
it would be great if you would have the other mindset, like, something put this together. We can't get organization out of chaos. Now, not knowing what that is, or if it's a fleet of aliens or whatever, or some underground gnomes, at least it's better than magically happening.
I could say that if I choose to be willfully ignorant and wrong. I could say that.
That's more faith than God, man. When you get all upset about us talking about God, I mean, it takes more faith to believe in this thing.
I don't mind you talking
Way
about
more
God.
faith. That's a lot of faith. Yeah.
Well, I'll put it back on you then. Where did God come from? He's always existed.
That's a good question, and that's a great question. So,
Right, where did God come
so
from?
I would think that since we can think and we have knowledge of things and we can sit here and talk to each other, that whatever existed also had wisdom, then no wisdom.
So this wisdom that we need put into us, God just had that with no explanation whatsoever. It's arbitrary.
Right, and I would think,
God has always existed.
There
with
is
wisdom.
an explanation. We just
Thing
don't
that
know
we
it.
need put inside us by other beings. He just had that with no explanation whatsoever.
Listen,
Right.
if you can use your time
that work?
thing, Wildheart, I'm sorry, Anthony, he's using his time thing. Like, you can't prove it because you can't sit here for 8 billion years. Well, it's the same thing. We haven't heard the reason from God yet. It hasn't been made known to us, but at least we know we have an intelligent being that's making things.
It doesn't matter. It's logic.
Well,
How did
my
God-
thing,
What created God?
Wildheart, my explanation to that would be that Einstein's theory of relativity. So when the Bible says that God always was, I think that opened a key to it, because now we know that a plane goes around the world.
Just because the Bible says it doesn't make me know it. No, it's not a fact because the Bible says it.
Well, just let me finish, please.
Sorry.
So when an airplane goes around the world and travels at speeds, and he comes back and the guy's sitting there, their clocks are going to be a little different, because we know that when you have speed, that you can slow down time. Okay, so if you go at the speed of light, time stands still. So that means that if you're going at the speed of light, then basically there is no time. You're outside of time then. So my explanation would be that God is outside of time. That
Right.
he's outside of time and created time itself.
How do you perform an action if you're outside? If there's no time, how do you perform any action? How does anything happen? You need the time before the thing happened and the time after. If there's no time, even God couldn't do anything.
Right, because it was created. So do you agree with me? Do you agree with me that if we travel at the speed of light, then time would stand still?
Yes, and you won't be able to do anything.
Then you won't be able to do anything.
No, because you need the time before the thing happened and the time after the thing happened.
I understand
So if
exactly.
there's no time, you can't do anything.
So for you, time always existed.
No.
No, time didn't always exist. Time started from somewhere.
Version of time started at the Big Bang, but there could have been a different time. Could have worked differently before. We only know about our version of time.
So if energy was always there, then energy would have created time.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
energy created time.
All right, I'll shut up.
Yeah, please. Okay, boys, where are we going with this? There are causes for everything. We're exploring causality. In other words, we're exploring the heart and nature and purpose of God.
Back to the subject matter.
Yes. So you'll be thrilled, Cade, to go back over and watch the beginning of this, because we were playing Better Bachelor's take on the causality of things that are happening today. You're on mute for some odd reason.
And I like to quote Ace a lot of times, because Ace has some great quotes. And this is another Ace quote: is to think about your thoughts and where your thoughts come from and why you have those thoughts. And there's always causes
Always.
why you're thinking what you're thinking and why you chose what you chose. Stop and think about why you chose that. And this is an ace theologian quote.
Would it be safe to say, Anthony, if you had the holy grail of being able to cause the exact causes that you do would cause that person to make decisions, that you would actually be controlling that person like a puppet?
Yeah.
Now, doesn't God say he puts the desires that you come up with, he puts them in your heart?
Yes.
Isn't he saying, I've tied the puppet strings?
Well, he says that we're clay and he's the potter. So he put desires in a piece of clay.
Yeah. Didn't even come up with your own desires. That's the only way you can guide every footstep, not of a righteous man, of man. He directs the footsteps. He could have said the path. He could have said the way, the wasted 3-day, 4-day journey that need not be so. And that means that when you walk into a whorehouse, what is God now off the hook? He's not directing those steps. And that leads to all kinds of crap, depending on where you live and how much money you have at the time.
Well, can you imagine if God gave Satan free will and let Satan do whatever he wants? Well, then Satan's in control of everything then, not God. Right?
Yeah. And look at how things change culture. There was a time not too long ago where no one would bat an eye about your uncle telling you that when he was so old, your grandpa took him to a whorehouse. That story has been told. You won't ever hear that story now. Oh my God. That happened a lot in war, right before everyone went to World War II. Yeah, everything is caused by your culture, how you grew up. We're all, Edward Bernays will tell you there, you want to find someone magical, Wildheart, go look him up, see what he found out. He found out he could stand up on a building and control the masses like an undulating snake and make it go and buy exactly what he wanted. It was a numbers game.
God has
I missed the start of that.
God has a cause for everything, even the leaf falling from the tree. I don't know what the cause is, but everything in God's creation has a purpose.
What I'm looking for is the cause for God. If everything has a cause, there must be a cause for God. Otherwise, that's
there must be a cause for energy.
Right. So what's the cause for God?
Same thing that's cause for energy.
You'll get to ask him.
But energy is a lot simpler.
He'll explain it one day.
Razor.
And you're going to be embarrassed. I don't think he's going to take it. I don't think he's going to take the embarrassment away.
I'm embarrassed off it. It doesn't bother me.
I think someone just passing the answer along down the big mass of people gathered around that throne. He doesn't have to really. He just could just whisper it, and it could just be passed down, and everybody.
So why does no one know?
I know, but I'm keeping it a secret because I don't want your head to explode.
Right, that's
you know what? I was going to say it, but I won't now either.
Yeah, it's a secret. God is operating in secret.
So you know how there is a cause for an uncaused God. You know how there is a cause for something that is uncaused.
Foolish.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
No wonder Wildheart keeps coming back to this channel. He's trying to trip us up to reveal the purpose of God.
Yeah. Not the purpose, the cause.
That's why God has free will, because there is no cause.
If there is no cause, then God is arbitrary.
God is the cause.
Everything he does is arbitrary. Everything he thinks is arbitrary. If there's no cause for God, God is arbitrary.
You know what? I would say that the cause for expansion and all this is going to come back to love. But there's something very vitally important that we understand what hate is before we just walk in that love.
Doesn't matter. It's all arbitrary. It's all pointless.
No, it's not. We're going to be a body. We're not going to be making decisions. We got to be responding correctly, at the right time.
I'm saying if God has no cause, he is arbitrary.
Can you imagine a tightrope walker out there walking, like 80 stories or whatever above the earth, and the toe decides to rebel, just the pinky toe? Screw this. I don't want to take a step. Bends its way back. Oh, you can't have that happening.
Doesn't matter. It's all arbitrary. If God doesn't have a cause, God is arbitrary. Everything he thinks, everything he does is arbitrary.
He was smart.
Ironically, God doesn't have free will either at that point.
He was smart putting this atheist belief in people. It's a tough one.
But he didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice to put the atheist thought in people. If he did, he didn't have a choice.
You're going to feel silly. We're all going to feel silly.
Silly all the time, anyway. But if no one creates, if there's no reason for his existence, he is arbitrary. Everything he does is arbitrary. Everything he thinks is arbitrary.
You're just like a Christian.
He has no free will.
You're just like a Christian, because they also argue for randomness and arbitrariness. There's no causes according to the Christians, and according to Wildheart, there are no causes.
But argue against it then. How can a being that has no cause be anything but arbitrary?
You keep saying that. He didn't say that.
So what is the cause? So God does have a cause.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's not the first thing. He's not.
He created the cause. He created the disease so you could see the cure. The cure was always there.
Impossible. He can't create the cause for his own existence.
Mm.
That is literally impossible.
Well, the same thing can be said about energy. What caused the energy?
It's just always existed.
Well, you're saying the same thing.
Yeah, it's arbitrary. It's arbitrary. I admit it's
we just have different gods is all. I just think it would be way cooler if yours was aliens.
Energy is not a god, and it's arbitrary that energy exists.
It's your god. It's always been.
It's not my god. Stop calling it my god. Kid, I do not have a god.
You're defending it. Now you're defending it. You got passion behind it. That's a bigger telltale. That's a big red flag.
Because you're purposely misrepresenting me and getting it wrong even when I've corrected you. That is not nice.
No. Where did the energy come from? You know so much about it. You have an intimate relationship with this energy. Where did it come from?
It's not my god.
No. You're treating it like a god. You're speaking for it. You're giving it words.
Because it's
you're saying that you're saying what its purpose is.
I can speak for anything. It doesn't make it a god. I can think it's always existed. That doesn't make it a god. It is not my god. Stop misrepresenting me.
Now, my daddy, though, is a god.
Right, that's fine.
The god
is a god.
The god. My daddy put that crazy thought in your head.
Right. Well, he did it arbitrarily then. If he didn't have a reason, if he didn't have
he did it right under. He did it right under your nose.
Right. I don't believe it because it makes.
You're not supposed to. You're not supposed to. It's perfect.
Right. Well, I tell your God to fuck off and stop putting thoughts in my fucking head. That is sick.
You have no idea how successful he has been pointing people to the truth by listening and watching you.
Right. Tell your God to stop watching me. Stop putting thoughts in my head. He's a fucking cunt.
I won't do no good. I've tried. Believe me. He's not even moved. He's not even amused with stuff like that. You won't even get his attention.
Well, he's a fucking cunt, man.
He's been called way worse than that. You got to do better than that.
I bet he has. That's the worst I can think of.
Well, give it a week or two.
He's an asshole. If your God is putting thoughts in my head and watching me constantly, tell him to fuck right off. Right. And on that note, I shall leave. Sorry, yes. Bye.
Dun 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 dun. What is going on today?
Where'd Ace go?
I think his Firefox. How long? Probably something to do with rebooting. It is the same thing, though. I mean, now that you said that, Anthony, man, that is it. That was the last straw right there. It made so much sense. It's the same rebuttal, just always has existed. Why isn't it good for the goose if it's good for the gander?
I would think it would sound a lot more logical that something that was always wise existed than something that
Right.
wasn't.
Right. Of course.
Since we have wisdom, it would make sense that whatever created us to have wisdom had wisdom. Then wisdom and consciousness just popping up out of nowhere.
And you know why? Why these things are important? Because it's for our survival in the flesh. So it's hardwired into us to always go and seek someone else in the tribe, usually someone older, to stay alive. How do you deal with this? That's hardwired. That's why it sounds so logical. And then when you hear something like, well, there is no God and no purpose, and it's just energy, and it's always been here, and they can't say and speak to it in any intimate way whatsoever, and no empirical way. It just short circuits.
Just look at creation, you know, the rainbow, the beautiful sunset, the flower, the squirrels whistling.
Right.
It's all, and when we were, if and the chicken and the egg thing with all species of creation would have had to happen. And also on this rock, if that's what we're on, we're just going by their theory, okay?
Yeah.
We're on a rock, and somehow this rock even has consciousness to have a seed that plants food for us to eat and creates apple trees and all these other fruits and vegetables from a little tiny seed. Somehow the rock knew to do that for us.
Just always knew.
Just always.
Aren't you good with that? Just always knew how to do that. Nothing had to tell it that, for God's sakes. It's called Mother Nature. It's female. It knows. And don't try to figure her out, because we've been told that you can't figure them out. They're so intricate. And that's what it sounds like when he's talking. He's trying to defend something that is just totally, it just doesn't make sense.
Right. When you really go down that rabbit hole, you can see how that falls apart pretty quick.
Yeah, that's cultish to believe such a crazy delusion when you can't even.
I must admit, to have faith in that is stronger, much stronger than our faith.
Yeah.
To think that.
Yeah. And he's not even putting faith in a source of knowledge that might know something more about what's going on. This thing that he's putting his faith in is indifferent. God dang, man, totally indifferent. It has no thought process. Just all it has going for it is a long period of time. It needs lots of time, and then it can do anything.
But what it can't do is, since it took all this time to create us and to have this knowledge about these plants on earth to feed us, but what it can't do is keep us living for a long time. Why not? Well, why not? If it created wisdom to do all that, why not just keep us living? Or if we do die, there must be, even in that scenario, it must have, that already has wisdom to have a plan for us after we die. Or or it has no purpose at all, and we just go through this. So what would be the purpose of the plants to keeping us alive when we're just going to die and have no purpose anyway? Huh.
Maybe they need something to scoop the poop off of their carpet around, You don't know, because does it have wisdom? Does it have, is it whatever this thing is that's done all this stuff, I mean, you can't ask it any questions because it doesn't have a brain.
Right. He says no wisdom. It's just no wisdom. So it just all came to be wise.
Yeah.
But it
I
ain't
think
wise. But it has no wisdom. Remember that in the first place.
right. That's what short circuits me. I start to climb up on the island to get on the little rock that they're presenting, and then all of a sudden it gets real mossy because there's no wisdom. There's nothing to help, you know. It doesn't. How can I trust it? It doesn't even know what's going on.
If you just look at the seed that we put in the ground, that shows you so much of God right there.
Yeah. You know, they worked on that, trying to get something like that for the military, figuring out how a seed can just grow that big old infrastructure like that. They can't figure it out. It takes something so compact and just bury it, you know?
And bury it in dirt of all things.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a foreshadowing of something, eh? Being buried in dirt and then boom, rising again and having so much beauty and bloom.
Yeah. Actually, isn't there some kind of, I don't know, some kind of what are they called, metaphor that was spoken or written in those pages somewhere about unless you go into the ground and die first?
1
I think
Corinthians 15.
Yeah. And I think those creatures up there that have never experienced death, they would be scratching their head looking at this humiliating thing that we go through that really cancels out, from our perspective, it cancels out any reason to do anything here. I mean, why? It's just all going into the heap pile of death, never to be seen again. What the hell? And no one has a problem with it.
Yeah. I just think that having a mind that thinks that we have no purpose here, we're just here for a split second and gone, and that's it.
That's what most people, I think, really have, and they just don't talk about it. They know it, and it really makes everything they're doing just foolish and vanity, doesn't it? I mean, when you really sit and think, dang, man, and you start saying it about 30 years old, dang, 30, 40, 50, 60, I'm almost half of my life is gone. And then you blink and you're 40. And then at 50, it really hits you, man. This is a short ride. And you start getting tired and the days become shorter. You start accepting that after a certain time, your day is done. You just physically can't go. In general, not all of us.
Well,
but
all of us will get to that point.
Yeah.
Eventually.
But these Christians are living a very, very gloomy, terrible existence, and they can't even be honest about it. They can't look at themselves and be honest. Oh my God, no, because they're so involved with that presentation of this plan that they have no idea. They can't even put words into the plan of God. That's gloomy. Every day trying to please him, making sure that you're highly favored and blessed by the Lord, strangling him and wringing his arm with prayers, claiming how awesome his the heaven is and everything, and then asking for donations of $50,000-$60,000 when someone's 70 and dying.
I wouldn't call that a plan. I'd call that a nightmare.
Yeah, it is. What is this now? Cussing Preacher. That's his name, right? Oh, yeah. Well. Yeah. I like the word dung, too. It was also a bad word. When Paul said he counts his life, it was the equivalent of really either shit or horse shit. Not too appropriate in a church building.
I think God has a purpose. He's not too worried about our F-bombs.
But I do think it is him sharing. I think all this going on that we're all experiencing and everything. I mean, I think just everything is every jot and tittle of what sin could do. And there's just not going to be anyone left that's going to say, hey, we could try it this way. It's all been tried.
Yeah.
I mean, every possible angle you could ever wrangle sin working out for you and evil sustaining life. I mean, I think we've exhausted every good attempt, haven't we?
Right.
It's going to be a long-lasting testimony, this whole project. And of course he needs evil and he needs people to do sinful things. And that's when everyone hits the road. That's it. That's when the mumble start and the protecting God starts. And the protecting yourself because you can't judge other people and feel good about them getting some horrid punishment and you not, without there being some damn good logic behind it. And it's not logical. Yeah.
Well, sir, haven't we had a grand time of it all?
Yeah. Yeah. It's heavy duty stuff. It's scary. It's full of chills and thrills. There's no safety belts.
What a story to have. You're looking for, when you go on Netflix and you look for movies, you look for dramas, you look for thrillers, you look for comedy. We got the whole package right here. God gave us the whole package in the movie.
Yeah.
All one big script flowing out through time.
Yeah, and I do think a lot of people are afraid of the rejection that they kind of sense because they feel the fight inside of them speaking about things like, Trinity, and depending on where God has you coming out of the slaughterhouse of your mind. But yeah, and then just the closer you get, you're still going to have those things that don't make sense. But man, if it all gets down to just saving you, and you is the number one thing in the story, man, we're missing it. We're missing it with Christ. He's the number one thing in the story, it seems.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah. And you will get rejected. You absolutely will. No doubt about it. Yeah. And it sucks and it teaches you.
Right. You got to know the love of God. Like, look at Adolf Hitler when he was a 1 or 2 year old boy, just an innocent little boy that God was he's so intimate with, and all of us come out very innocent. And that's that same person. And people say, oh, he's going to burn in hell. Look what he did. Well, God could have killed him at 2 and never had that happen.
Right. See how illogical? Just all little things like that. Just blow it out of the water. Doesn't make sense.
God could have had a cause where he was in a car and got in a car wreck, and that would have never happened. There was a purpose. God had a purpose for him.
Doesn't it say that when it gets real bad? Yeah, it's all right now. That fixes everything.
The call of God. Isn't that precious?
Yeah. What is wrong? Why are people so opposed to God taking something that has no ability to think on its own, feel on its own, create itself, sustain itself? None. And just basically saying, look, you're so stupid. Look, here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm just going to set you up and give you the feeling that you're making all these decisions. And it's going to help me school you, because you could need to know what's going on if you feel in charge. What's wrong with that? It's quite efficient. It looks to me like he's tagging and bagging us. About 70, 50 years or so is enough. I don't see one person that's going to wake up and look at their whole life and feel like they got it going on and are not open to a better way. Just don't know. I just can't think of anyone. Hitler, my uncle, my dad, Aunt, or the Saint Teresa. What is her name? Mother Teresa. Everyone's going to wake up and just see just the filthiness of the whole scam. No more peer pressure.
People that believe in eternal torment, go back and look at a 5-year-old picture of Hitler, and then look at a 40-year-old picture of Hitler, and you look at that 5-year-old picture of him and say, that guy is burning in hell for eternity. That little boy, that 5-year-old innocent little boy.
And an easier thing, Anthony, for those that may not have the resources to go to the library or type in Google to see that picture, take out your wedding book, ladies, and just look at that husband you married, and then turn to the very back of the book and see him 40 years later. We're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But we are.
Yep.
No one's going to be too proud about their life lived, except those that know it wasn't them living it. Then there's nothing to worry about being prideful over.
Right. So no one can boast.
Imagine that. Like, I mean, I don't see a problem with people boasting now. Do you think there's a boasting epidemic? Nah. Don't you hate when you're doing it and catch yourself doing it, and then you're halfway through it and you know it just is not going to come off right unless you finish the other half of the prideful, boisterous, look at what I've done with my life talk? You ever had that happen?
Yeah.
Where mid-sentence you're like, shit, I'm doing it right now.
I do it. I do it all the time.
And then you're like, well, how am I going to make this sound? Because now I don't even feel like telling it. But yeah.
All you got to do is look on Facebook and all the people taking selfies saying, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Boy, this social media, I'm telling you, it's been a bigger player. They actually say that we're in a phenomenon they can't really see anywhere in human history, that we've been able to come to a place where men and women have so much, connectivity, instant gratification. It's never been worldwide like this. Man.
Right, and people faked it because people put on a fake persona on social media.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They have this wonderful life and they're traveling all over the world and look at me and look what I did. It's all about me, I and as a matter of fact, I read a thing that it causes the people to look at that they get depressed because their life ain't like their life that they see from that person.
And they're depressed over a projection from a creature that is not presenting the real of who they are, the realness. They're projecting not even what they think in their heart they should be. They're projecting what they've ascertained that you want to see. That's how fake and phony it is.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the pictures themselves, they're filtered.
Filtered.
And sometimes they even create backgrounds like they're somewhere they're not.
Right.
That's right. Living your best life. Don't you know it?
Faking it.
Faking it up good.
That's
I was cleaning. I was changing diapers and cleaning dirty butts today. That was the highlight. Living my best life. I'm not complaining. I'm getting paid, but I did physical therapy and I handed out medicine. I took blood tests. But
that's actually a person's normal day life, is doing work, and every single thing you do in life is just a struggle. You got to get up out of bed. You got to put your boots on. You got to go to work. It's just one struggle after another. That's normal. That's a normal week. Not everything's hunky dory. Fake little fantasy world.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when you can be good that's a good place. When you can be good with how things are. I think Martin Zender said when you could be at peace with not being at peace.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that saying from him.
Yeah. I got to get to know this cussing preacher. This dude's awesome. Who is this guy? Dung. I forgot about dung. Yeah, dung was not a very
nice word.
That would have been a cuss word, right?
Yeah. Or at least something you reserve for a room full of men only.
Jesus rode into town on a Jesus rode into town on a donkey. Wasn't that kind of giving the finger to some people?
Hey, Ace.
Yeah.
back to the subject matter. So, I think a lot of people don't understand that your subject matter is there are causes for everything. We're exploring causality. Okay. And they don't understand that our will is a causality from God.
Yeah.
Our own will. And the things we want, desire, are from God, not from ourselves. They're from ourselves in the relative, in the flesh. But where's the causality from that? Where does it go back to? It all stops and ends with God, right?
Right.
You know where they say the buck stops here?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, golly. You go in there, hey, what are we going to do with this thing, this evil going on? Oh, I don't know. Give me a second. I didn't really factor that in. Let me get my time machine and go forward and see how things unfold. And then I'll let you know. 1 second. Okay, let's revise the plan now. I see what's happened. I mean, come on. That's Christianity. And we play a big role in it, don't you know?
Yeah. Okay, boys, let's wind this up.
Yeah.
How long's this one been going, Ace? I just figured out you're on.
2.5.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to catch you on the phone, Ace. You boys have a good day.
Okay.
All right. I'm out too.
Good to hear from you, Jeremy.
Same. That was
It's been
great.
a while. I've been out working and been busy, so
that's cool. Me too.
I'll catch up with you soon. Ace.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you later, Ace.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
There are causes for everything. And we were just exploring causality and giving glory and honor to God. Actually, that's what I was hoping we would do, as He is the source of all things, because He gives life and breath and all to all. Check it out, dude. That's Acts 17:25. He gives life and breath and all to all. And aren't we lucky? Grace to you. Thank you for joining me.